This happened almost a year back, and I'm still a little freaked out about it. For a little background information, me and my boyfriend Sam love exploring abandoned places. Sam is a tall guy who can handle himself in a fight. Because of this, going to those creepy old houses that possibly homed homeless junkies or criminals never spooked me, a slightly shorter and clumsier guy who hasn't thrown fists in at least a year. Our previous encounter with other people exploring happened months before, but went generally well, just some teenagers smoking pot in an old school a few towns over. We talked to them about the location, they shared their bowl with us, and we all looked around the place together. This kinda set us at ease, as we realized that even people coming to these locations to do drugs still enjoyed searching around. Don't get me wrong, I get teenagers smoking pot is different from a homeless 30-plus-year-old man on meth, but again, we never had an incident like this, so that was our precedent for this sort of situation. We would make day trips, rarely ever going to a location only one time. That all changed after this. The house we planned on going to was huge. 3 floors, 8 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 3 foyer-looking things that you only see in these rich people kinds of houses, and in total a whole 2.5-acre property, including a pool and a huge circular driveway. We loved this spot, not only because it was so close to us, only a couple of minutes down the road, but it was absolutely overgrown, covered in decades worth of graffiti inside and out, yet still looked beautiful, in those years of despair kind of way. Just the way we like it. It was early Saturday morning, around 6 or 6:30. We made our way to the property through the fence. There was a spot at the bottom of the fence that could be lifted up. The only problem was it was noisy as hell, so we made it quick. After we had walked around to the other side, we made our way in. As we walked through the main hall, I thought I heard the fence being pulled. It was a loud metallic sound, but I brushed it off. This was an old and creaky house after all. We explored the basement first, then the first floor with nothing creepy happening. That in itself took up a lot of time, so by then I was pretty ready to check out the rest of the house without incident as well. We happily went upstairs where it was brighter. There was a large sunroof over the stairwell, and a window at the end of the room that filled the living room area with light. We grabbed our cameras and started reading the walls covered in graffiti. It had been a few months since we had been to this spot. We almost got the cops called on us last time, so the wall had new words, Twitter handles, the word fuck at least 1,000 times. Nothing unusual. That is, until I got to the windows overlooking the yard area. From here I could see the fence we had lifted up to get in. Someone wrote, "Look down," in silver Sharpie in the middle of the window. I looked down and just barely saw what looked like a person going onto the porch, which was out of view. I'm not saying whoever wrote it was actually planning this. I know it was just coincidence. Looking back on it, I doubt I saw anything there too, but it honestly unnerved me a bit. I went back to Sam and let him know. He just chuckled and brushed it off. We spent a few more minutes taking pictures and walking around before we went to the 3rd floor. Sam went right up the stairs, but I held back a little bit as I still was interested in whatever I was looking at on the wall. That's when I heard it. It sounded like footsteps on thick wooden stairs leading up to the floor I was on. My blood ran cold as I gulped and leaned over the railing. I saw someone coming up, their hands sliding on the banister as they rose. Something about just seeing this hand freaked me out, so I quickly went up to the 3rd floor, making as little sound as possible. I quietly speed-walked over to Sam and explained what I saw in a hushed voice. Now he took me seriously, as I probably was visibly disturbed, and went to the stairwell, peering over and seeing no one. Sam yelled out, "Hey, is anyone here?" Silence. Not wanting his voice to be the only one heard, I shouted, "We don't want any trouble." He shrugged and said, "If we run into anyone, I got my knife and a thing of pepper spray in my bag. Just loud enough so that if anyone was listening, they'd hear it." We continued the exploration, and I stuck by his side at all times. Nothing else happened until we were getting ready to leave. It was almost 1 in the afternoon, so we started packing our stuff and heading downstairs. When we got to the landing, I noticed something that made me gasp loudly. Someone was standing at the bottom step. I looked at Sam, who looked confused, nervous, and all above, prepared for anything. Hello?" he muttered. No answer. The person looked up at us and smiled, clearly missing a few teeth. He didn't look right. His smile was less friendly and more psychotic looking. His clothes were torn and disheveled, and his hair was long and looked like it hadn't been washed or cut in a while. Normally we would run into teenagers just exploring, but this guy didn't look like he was there to look around for fun. Immediately I assumed he was homeless, but the smile led me to believe that he was definitely on something. I couldn't speak, and I was squeezing Sam's hand. The guy put his foot on the second step, and that was our cue to dip. We sprinted up the stairs to the third floor, hearing behind us the heavy footsteps of the man, his boots loudly stomping up in pursuit. I was already nearly in tears as Sam swung his bag around his side and grabbed his knife. He motioned for me to be quiet as we heard the guy reach the top of the steps. The third floor was a bit different. There was a hall that went into a room, but the room was part of the hallway, so it had no door. When we realized that the only other place to go was the roof, we hid behind a surprisingly not demolished couch. The place was an absolute wreck, so it wasn't like it was the only place we could have hidden behind. We both crouched down and sat in silence. I had covered my mouth to muffle my heavy breathing. I could hear my heart beating in my chest. You think that that's the kind of a description an exaggerated author uses, but no, I knew exactly what they mean by that now. A few seconds later, we heard the guy checking around the room we were hiding in. What chills me to the bone to this day is what we heard him saying. There's only one way out of here, and that's past me. He spoke in an almost gleeful tone of voice. He continued to say this as he walked through the room and down the hall. I looked at Sam. He seemed terrified, which was unusual, and it only made me more scared. We didn't move for a few minutes, eventually hearing a door down at the far end open and close, suggesting he had gone into a room. We took this opportunity to get the fuck out of there. I don't know if sprinting out of an abandoned house would ever count as a sport, but if it does, we are champs, taking less than a minute to get out and off the property, sprinting to our car. After we collected our thoughts, I lit a cigarette and watched the house. It was then that I started to cry. Go ahead, call me a wuss, but I was scared out of my mind. We never did see anyone come out, but I definitely saw movement in there. I never went back, and neither did Sam, but a few of our mutual friends went and said that nothing happened and they didn't see anyone. I don't know what would have happened if he would have found us, but I'm glad I don't have to know. This kind of taught me a lesson, as no one exploring abandoned places really expects to be chased around. It can happen. I only hope that others who share this interest are as lucky as we were to have gotten out of there unharmed. At the age of 19, I was serving in the U.S. Army as an 11 Bravo, infantryman. By this time I had already completed my basic training as well as AIT, and was now at my duty station. I was single, and not a rank E6 or higher, so I was housed in one of the brigade's shared barracks buildings. On the weekends, it was a normal thing for me to rent out a hotel room off post, to avoid bringing any female visitors back to our testosterone-filled run-down living quarters. One of the things the military instills in you is the need for security, obviously. Even walking around alone on a military post during basic training is push-up worthy. You must have what is referred to as a battle buddy present. Simply put, a fellow military member. This is where Martinez comes in. Martinez and I first met in basic, and we were both sent to the same company at our primary duty station. He joined me every weekend and we split the cost of the hotel room. We rented a room in a city about 35 miles from base and got something to eat before hitting the club. The city we chose to party in this weekend was also where a lot of college kids spent their weekends, as the state's university was located within it. This was great in a way, but not in many others. On the one hand, we had a ton of beautiful college women out for a night on the town, down for whatever. But on the other hand, you had a grip of college men trying to flex their dicks to impress said women. Their biggest threat, military guys. There isn't one weekend that passes where a soldier doesn't get into a fight with a college student over something or another. It is a risk-reward kind of party spot. Reaching the club at about 2300, we parked in the overflow parking and made our way through the numerous loitering crowds and into the building. Upon reaching the bar, Martinez and I ordered our drinks and began to scan the dance floor, which sat about 3 feet lower than the bar, giving us a perfect view. I noticed a gorgeous blonde dancing with what I assumed was a group of her girlfriends. I nudged Martinez and nod towards the group. "Damn," is the only thing out of his mouth before he grabs his beer, starts bobbing his head and walking in their direction, slowly going into a half dance, half walk as he reaches the dance floor. I quickly drop a $20 bill at the bar and take the shot of whiskey I ordered, pick up my beer and follow Martinez's lead. By the time I had worked my way to the group, my battle buddy was already in his groove with one of the brunettes, so I jumped right into the mix, joining the blonde I had spotted from the bar. We were down there for probably 15 minutes before I start getting low on my beverage and eye the bar to check out how long it would take to get another. I see that there was about the average amount of people and 3 bartenders serving. I should get my drink quick enough to get back to these ladies, I think to myself. I look over at Martinez and he is still doing his thing, so I don't want to interrupt his magic and figure he can get his own beer. I quickly leave the dance floor and go up to the bar. "Hey buddy, are you in the service?" I hear as I just step up to the bar. I look to my right and I see a clean-cut, bulky guy looking at me. "Yes sir," I respond, noticing two other guys behind him quickly turning their heads my way. "Thank you for your service. You can always tell by the haircuts," he replies with a slight nod. "Let us buy you a drink," I hear another guy yell, this time from my left. He startled me a bit and I jumped before responding. "Holy crap, you scared the crap out of me. Hell yeah, I'll take a drink." The guy to my left chuckles, then orders 6 shots of 151. The guy on my right then speaks again. "We are all out celebrating our big basketball win. Dude, we crushed those punks." The two guys behind him and the guy to my left all start shouting in excitement. The bartender returns with the drinks and they are split up. One for the guy on the left, one for the guy on the right, and one for each of the other two. 2 shots are slid in front of me. "A little thank you for what you were doing. You being an army guy, you gotta be able to outdrink us," the guy to my right said. Me, not wanting to give us army guys a bad name. In other words, to impress these guys, I quickly downed both shots, nearly vomiting in my own mouth. They were obviously happy that I did that, because they all downed theirs before screaming their heads off again. "Not to drink and run, but I gotta get back to my friends on the dance floor," I say to them. "No problem, man. It was a pleasure to buy you a drink," the guy to my left says. "Hey, tell Ashley that our group project needs to be done tonight," the guy to my right says. "Who's Ashley?" I ask. "The girl you're dancing with," he says, and they all start laughing. Being on the dance floor, I hadn't asked her name. "Yeah, I can do that. Take care, guys," I say before turning and heading back to the dance floor. Almost immediately after reaching Martinez and the girls, I hear him yell to them that we should go find a table to cool down at. He grabs the brunette by the hand and starts walking towards an open table with the rest of the girls and me following behind. We sit at the table and I position myself next to the blonde, Ashley. We order more drinks and start a group conversation, getting to know everyone and introduce one another. That's when I did learn that the blonde's name was Ashley. After a few minutes, the waitress returns to our table with the drinks. Martinez pulls out cash to pay her, but she says they're already paid for and points towards the bar. I see all of the guys I was hanging out with at the bar waving at us. That immediately reminded me of what the one guy asked me to do. "Oh, hey Ashley, that guy wanted me to let you know that you guys need to finish your group project tonight." Her smile wavered for a second, but then was back full swing. "Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me." We sat at the table for probably 30 minutes before Martinez and I had worked our magic and got the 2 ladies we were interested in agreed to leave with us and finish the party somewhere else. The 2 girls we were leaving with, Ashley and the brunette, said their goodbyes to their friends and we all went out to the parking lot. Martinez and I mentioned we had a hotel room, to which Ashley responded, "Actually, come to our place. We all rent a house together and all the girls are still here. Besides, we have a group project due later." Martinez and I didn't even exchange glances before agreeing and heading off following Ashley's directions. We finally get to a big dark house, and Ashley tells us this is their place. Martinez has done the driving due to the amount of alcohol I've consumed, and parked in the empty driveway. We all get out and make our way inside the house. Upon entering, we see this place is massive. My immediate thought is, how the hell can they afford this? Then it quickly dawned on me. Their parents' money. Ashley takes the lead and shows us to the living room area. This is where Martinez and the brunette split off, and Ashley and I continue through the house, up some stairs into a bedroom. She closes the door, and then it's on. After a few minutes of kissing, we make our way to the bed. I have my shirt off by the time we make it to the bed, as does she, and I'm just starting to take off my pants when I hear a loud thump from the closet area. "What the hell?" I ask and look at her quizzically. "Oh, it's just old plumbing," she states as she grabs me again. I push her back and pull up my pants. "That didn't sound like plumbing," I say, slowly making my way to the closet. "It is, we hear it every night," she states in a panicked tone. "Don't go into my closet." It was her closet, but I was also worried for my safety, so I continued. I reached the doors to the closet and swung them open with no warning. I didn't see anything, well, aside from clothes. Ashley runs over and slams the doors shut. "I told you to stay out of my closet." She was screaming at this point. "I'm sorry, I just had to." She cuts me off and yells, "Only on a full moon." I look at her wondering why the hell she would say that, but my thoughts were cut off by the sound of her bedroom door slamming open. "Get him," I hear a man yell, followed by what sounds like a stampede. Everything happened so fast. I turned away and ran over to the window and tried to open it. I then noticed it was locked and knew I wouldn't have time to open it before they caught me. I turned back to face the people and fight, but they were much closer than I expected. I saw a blur of faces before being slammed into the wall, my back smashing the window. The next thing I remember is seeing everything in splotches and having the taste of pain in my mouth. Yes, you can taste it. Smack your head hard enough and you will taste it. I was hearing voices murmuring around me, but I couldn't make anything out. A minute or so passes and my senses return, accompanied by an extreme headache and a sharp pain in my back. I try to get up, but I can't move. I start looking around and realize I'm still in Ashley's room, now tied to her bed, not in a good way. I'm being held down by what I now see as rope. It looks like it's wrapped around me in the bed repeatedly. I start struggling as hard as I can, hoping that I can snap it or at least loosen it up. No luck. That is when I start screaming for Martinez. I hear footsteps racing down the hallway, and I ready myself to run as soon as my battle buddy gets me free. I hear the door begin to open and start yelling, "Martinez, get me off this bed and—" "Shut the hell up," a loud voice interrupts. "Your little friend left your ass. You're not so tough for an army guy." The voice sounded so familiar, I just couldn't place it, until he walked into view. It was the guy from the bar, the one who told me to give a message to Ashley. "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" I yell at him. In my head, I'm trying to think if what he's saying is true. Did Martinez really leave me? Or is he also in the same predicament and this is just some tactic to get us to break? The only thing I knew was that I needed to get out of there. "We're just working on a little project. You'll see soon enough." I'm panicked at this point. I start looking again to see if there's any way I can reach my pocket for my phone, or something that can cut this rope. Not happening. I am literally helpless. When I first signed up for the service, I always knew in my mind that I could become a prisoner of war, but I never expected it to happen in my own country, or for me to be crying like a little baby, which is what I started doing while coming to the realization that I was screwed. I started screaming again, begging for them to just let me go. Then the door opened again. This time it was Ashley. "You know what they're gonna do to you if you don't shut up, right?" she asks, raising a 5 or 6 inch kitchen knife. "Use your imagination," she says with an evil smile. She stabs at me quickly, stopping after only a few inches, clearly just to scare me, which it did. I ask her why they're doing this, and she smiles even wider. "You'll see soon enough," she says, leaving the room. I'm still going crazy in my mind trying to figure out how the hell I'm gonna get out of there, when another man walks into the room, the guy who actually bought me the drinks. He looks over at me and laughs. "You scared, military boy?" I didn't say a word. I just locked eyes with him. That was the moment the panicking started to leave my mind, replaced by anger. I started struggling again. "We'll see who's scared when I get out of here." He laughs hard. "Get out of here? Who says you're getting out of here?" He takes a few steps towards the bed and leans down to me. "You know." And then my phone rings, interrupting. I try with everything I have to get my phone to pick up the call, but still can't move enough. "Aren't you going to answer that?" he asks me, followed by a deep belly laugh. I tell him to go fuck himself as my phone goes silent once again. "I prefer Ashley," he says with a wink before walking out of the room. I lay there for a while longer, listening to the faint murmuring in the background and watching the breeze from the broken window blow the curtains around. The air blowing in felt cool running over me. I was extremely sweaty from everything that was going on. I tried to take a deep breath, but the rope digging into my chest prevented that. I was beginning to feel a bit claustrophobic when once again I heard footsteps coming down the hallway. This time many. 5 people came into the room this time, all 4 guys from the bar and Ashley. Ashley steps forward saying, "We're gonna move you now. You can either cooperate or we can just knock you out again. Choice is yours, but if you try to escape we will kill you and then we'll find your friend and take care of him." I weighed my options, and after considering I agreed to cooperate, with my plan being to still try and get away as soon as I had the opportunity. Martinez left my ass. He is also a grown man and can defend himself. If I die trying to escape, then so be it. I was fairly confident that either way I would probably end up dead. Ashley walks up once again with her knife. She points it at me. "I'm warning you, these guys are fast. I wouldn't try to run." Yes, like that will sway my plan. I do PT 5 days a week and I'm pretty fast myself, I think to myself. She starts trying to cut the rope, all the while I'm flinching with every cut. She's using the knife like a saw, and the tip keeps getting dangerously close to my skin. The guys watching all start laughing at my twitches. "What a little bitch," I hear one of them say. I was too busy watching the knife to see who said it. The onlookers fall silent again, leaving the sound of the knife being dragged across the rope to fill the void. Then I hear the blade giving off a faint pinging. I pay even closer attention. This bitch is gonna break that blade and stab it into me, I start thinking, flinching even more with each cut. Then the pinging gets louder, until I realize it isn't coming from the knife. It's coming from the window. I wasn't the only one who noticed it, because as soon as I came to that realization, one of the guys yells, "Ashley, stop." She freezes in place, the blade a centimeter from my hip. The silence that provided revealed the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Police sirens. All the guys started talking at once, and Ashley pulled the now warped knife away quickly. "What do we do?" she shrieked. "Run!" all the guys yell in unison, and like bats out of hell they all take off out of the room. I heard their footsteps fade as they went down the stairs, replaced now by even closer sirens. I sat up as much as I could. The ropes had been cut down to my hips, leaving just enough room to wiggle my hands free. I then had the idea to stay in bed. I figured that way when the police came in and they saw me, they would know what happened. I could have told them, but I just figured them seeing it would work to my advantage and leave the scene less disturbed. I heard the police roll into the driveway and slam on their brakes. The police started yelling for someone to get on the ground, followed by more police cars flying into the driveway and even more shouting. I listened to that for about 5 minutes until all calmed down, then yelled down that I needed help. One officer called to another to follow him, and I heard them enter the house. They didn't make it to my room fast, though. I heard them opening a few doors along the way and some scuffling. I assumed they were clearing the house. They finally open the door to the room I'm in and make their way over. One police officer pulls out a knife and makes quick work of the last rope holding me down, all the while I'm being questioned by the other officer. Am I okay? Who am I? What happened? How many people? What did they look like? Etc. Long story short, we left the house, and outside I was asked to identify the people they had in custody. They had all but 3 people. The guy who actually bought me the drinks, the brunette, and Martinez. I told them that, and the officers continued searching while we all went to the station, after I declined medical assistance. On the car ride to the station, the officer asked me about the whole ordeal, and upon getting to the part where my phone rang, I remembered that I hadn't checked it. It was Martinez who had called. After I didn't answer, he sent a text. "Hey, took Michelle to our room. Call when you're done." I texted him saying I was going to the police station and would call him later, then turned off my phone. I wanted him to be concerned after what he did leaving me there. At the police station, I gave my statements and explained everything repeatedly. That was when it dawned on me. Why did they come to the house in the first place? It turns out that when I was tackled and broke the window, the neighbors called in a noise complaint. It being a Friday night, the police weren't going to rush it. But after the neighbors called back saying they heard screaming and thought someone was hurt, the police escalated the call. That one tiny detail may have saved my life. It's crazy to think that if I had not ran to that window first, I would still be at their mercy. The MPs were called, and about that time I turned on my phone to a barrage of mixed texts and voice messages from Martinez. I finally called him and explained it all to him. He was extremely remorseful and said that he would be on his way immediately. I asked him how his night with the brunette went. He responds, "Michelle was a freak, and around the time you texted she said she had to go, and left. I'm heading over to you now." I told him I would see him soon and hung up. He picked me up, and I was told to follow up with the MPs on post, and that I should also swing by the hospital. I told Martinez to drop me off at the hospital on post, and he said he was going to stay there with me. Yeah, now he wants to be my battle buddy. Once at the hospital, the MPs were informed and met us there. We both explained our takes and were told to go to their building on Monday, and that they would be informing my first sergeant and commander of the incident, whom I met up with later that now early morning. Monday I reported to the MP building and was questioned once again, but more importantly informed about what was going on. It turns out that everyone we met that night at the club all knew each other well. Most were dating one another or had dated. Apparently the guys got tired of the army guys coming into their turf and taking their women, so they wanted to get revenge. They had planned it out for a while, and I was literally in the wrong place at the wrong time. Once we got to the house, Michelle, the brunette, asked Martinez for more privacy because she said she was loud in bed. He quickly obliged, and not wanting to disturb me, left me alone with Ashley, and also, unknown to us at the time, the group of guys from the bar. They were hiding in the bathroom next to Ashley's room, waiting for the plan to get into action. From what they say, it was just going to be an elaborate prank. They were going to take me back to the bar after stripping me naked. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I do know that they were all charged with something or another. Even Michelle got a conspiracy to commit charge. Ashley and the guys who tackled me were charged with damage to government property. Whether those charges will stick or not is another story. Yes, someone can get that charge against them, because upon signing up to the military, that said member is now property of the government. I hold no hard feelings towards Martinez, and he is still my go-to battle buddy. I may have done the same thing. Women are like kryptonite. We do now have more strict rules that we try and follow, and a safety issue briefing was done for the brigade, as well as us all getting banned from the club. Even if it was a prank, it scared the hell out of me. I used to always imagine in my head being a hero and not cracking if made helpless. I'm sure I'm not the only one that felt that way, or has those images in their head, but I hope you never get that reality check. I'm 25 now, and was 17 when this happened. I'm 6 foot tall, and for the lack of a better word, brolic. I don't scare easily and never run from a fight. It was my senior year of high school and I went to a party with my now ex-girlfriend. I let her drive, which was my first mistake. Long story short, we ended up arguing on the way home. The party was up in the hills. I live in upstate New York and the hills surround my city. So in my drunken logic, I thought I'd hop out of the car while driving home because she was pissing me off. I quickly realized this was a bad idea because I was still a good 30-minute drive from my house. But in my drunken pride, I refused to call my girl back. By now it's 2:30 a.m., and I'm trying to call my friends to come pick me up, and hardly anyone is answering. I finally get my friend Tyler, and he says he's going to be on the way in a minute, and just stay on the road I was walking on. So I start playing some music and keep on walking. Now mind you, I have woods on both sides of me. It goes road, small ditch, then about a 5-foot incline of straight trees and bushes. I start hearing shit coming from the woods to my right. I turn off my music and stand still. I hear something moving probably about 15 feet to my right, and the sound stops a couple of seconds after I do. Like whoever was doing it hadn't realized I stopped and caught themselves. I stand there for a minute, then brush it off, but I start walking down the middle of the road just in case there is something there. Now I'm just listening to the woods and bugs while walking, which is kind of creepy. Then I hear it again. It's like someone's walking and not even trying to be quiet. I stop again. Then the sound starts to get louder. Whatever it is walking towards me. I walk around with a box cutter on me at all times, and this time I pull it out. This huge guy steps out into the tree line. Like I said before, I'm well built and by no means small. This man towered over me. On top of that, he's raised up a good 5 feet over me. He's wearing like a brown Carhartt jacket with the hood up. I can't see much else of him. Me being drunk and not knowing what to do, I say, "Jesus, guy, you scared me. How you doing?" He just stands there, says nothing, just stares at me with his hands in the front pocket of his jacket. This dude gave me a really bad vibe, so we have a little staring contest for about 30 through 45 seconds, but felt like much longer. I just start walking sideways so I can keep looking at the guy and pull my phone out to call Tyler and see where he is. The dude doesn't move. He just turns his body to keep staring at me. By now I'm walking backwards to keep an eye on him, and Tyler tells me he's close. Now I start hearing more noises in the woods. I tell Tyler to hurry the fuck up, and he does. He pulls up, and by now I'm on the opposite side of the road away from whoever the fuck was following me. I told him on the phone what was happening, and he gets out of the car. Everything is completely silent, so we turn the flashlights on our phones and start looking up in the woods. We hear people talking. Murmuring almost. Then a shitload of noise, like 5 or 10 people breaking the branches and shit to get to us. We'd look at each other and book it to his car before taking off. As we are pulling off, 3 or 4 shadows jump out into the road and stare at the car. The question is, what the fuck were these people doing in the middle of nowhere with no flashlights or anything at 3 a.m.? I have no idea, but I'm glad my ride pulled up. I don't mess around with those woods now, for good reason. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you email it to urmaker6260@gmail.com. So I guess I'll just put it out there. One of these stories I actually wrote. Feel free to take a guess down in the comments below, and I'll let you know at the very end of the credits. Regardless, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I really want to thank you for all the support I received on the last video I uploaded, the huge collaboration that was like an hour long. It really means a lot to me that everyone shared, retweeted, and commented, liked. It really does help out a lot, and I just wanted to thank everyone for that. And I don't blame you. That was a great video. I got a lot of big names, and I was really surprised a lot of them worked with me. So if you missed that, make sure you go check it out. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true. So the story I wrote was the one with the military guy. I actually kind of loosely based that off of where I was stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas. The city it was referring to was actually Manhattan, not Manhattan, New York. Obviously, it's in Kansas, which is about 35 miles from the military post. And within that city is the university for Kansas. And there's an area called Aggieville with a club in particular. I'm not going to say the club, but in Aggieville where there is a huge rivalry between the military guys and the college guys, and there are fights all the time. So I loosely based it off of that, but had a little fun with it, and tried not to go too extreme. I wanted it to seem somewhat plausible. So either way, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all have a safe and fun weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video. Urmaker out.